Good evening, everybody. Dr. Glow here with another amazing panel. We are actually our last one of this season. We take a break for the much needed summertime so I can relax and get some other things done on my Monday nights. What am I going to do? Probably rest, right? Because the weekends are going to be so hectic going into the summertime. But I'm excited to be here on this Monday evening to have this conversation. We're going to be talking a lot about family and entrepreneurship and relationships. And we all know that I firmly believe in strong partnership when you're trying to run and manage a business. So I wanted to bring on a couple of folks to talk about their perspective around this as well. So I'm going to start with my Mount Vernon Knight, Ms. Nesta Felix. Please go ahead and introduce yourself. Everybody know the name of your organization.
Hey, I'm Nesta Felix. I'm the Executive Director of New Flex Youth Program, and I'm a super cool fan of Miss Gloria Pope. I love what she's doing with youth and community. I'm excited about her mission to serve Black girls and Black communities. So I'm here and I'm thinking and excited about this opportunity to be with her today.
Thank you so much, Nesta. So Javonia?
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Definitely thank you, Dr. Glow, for having me on this platform. Super excited to have this conversation tonight. My name is Javonia Smith. I'm co-founder of ReForum Consulting, which is a personal, professional, and community development organization guided by the 8 dimensions of wellness. So definitely love Black Girl Everything. Literally, you was on point with that name because it just flows. It just comes right off the tongue. Black Girl Everything, and then period at the end. So definitely shout out to you and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, and about the name though, it really just fell out the air for me because all I want to do was celebrate Black women a couple 5 years ago. And now we're still here rocking and rolling. That's what we've been doing. So it's been great. And the brand has been growing and we've been exploring so many different opportunities, especially now with having our first storefront where we host events. So we're really excited about where we are right now. But let's jump into this conversation. Okay, so let's start off with you, Nesta. Talk to me. How do you balance between your business life and family life? And is a balance truly achievable?
Wow. Well, I'm quoting the scripture right away about we're all weighed in a balance and we're found wanting. There's a scripture that screams out at me so often in what I do. I cannot attest to doing that successfully. It is my common mission to do it. I love what I do in the community, and often I do sacrifice family as a result of what I do, because my program has become my family. Sometimes I justify it and say that I'm serving, I'm with my family, but the reality of it is, for example, I have a family that lives in Atlanta. My parents, some days I don't speak to my parents for about a year or easily 6 to 7 months, and I'm a person who's very family oriented. My siblings, people are moving everywhere. As we get older, our families, we have different parts of our lives that call us to move. And so I yearn to be with them all the time, although they are my foundation. They are, a lot of what I am and who I am is because of how I was raised. So I love my parents, I love my family, but it definitely is a challenge to balance. I'm technically still a newlywed because I'm about almost 4 years in, and that has been the prime example of the challenge, because here, before I was married, I just worked throughout. I mean, there was no stopping. And now it's funny, there's days I tell my husband, oh my God, like, yo, I got like work to do still. I didn't have to stop and go home and work on something else. And it was just new flex programming and ideas, and your mind almost becomes locked in. So it is constantly a challenge. I am consciously working on it. And that's my honest line for it. I am constantly working on it. I want the balance. I want to do me. I'm in a place in my life where I am saying to myself, I am going to give myself the things that I need, especially because so many people are leaving us young. And I've become aware of that. So I am really working on that balance. I smiled when I saw that question because I knew that is really one of my biggest challenges in doing program and serving community.
Yeah, that was a full response, and thank you for that because that finding that balance is so important. And I get you with that the constant workload and your mind is always creating because entrepreneurs were in this move to like say we're working through things constantly, right? Everything's a constant pivot within our workload, so that makes complete sense. Shivani, why don't you answer that same question for me? Are you truly finding life like a balance achievable for you in your business?
Well, so to Nesta's point, no. But I've been able to reframe sort of my perspective around balance. So now it's more of like a flow with intention. And my framework, not only for my life, but for my business, is the 8 dimensions of wellness. So that encompasses intellectual, spiritual, occupational, environmental, financial, emotional, I think I'm missing one more. Spiritual, right? So all 8 dimensions, and me being able to reframe my thought around wellness and what that looks like has been extremely helpful because we can't, those are so many different areas that we have to invest in and give ourselves to, and sometimes it's just not possible. So we may be in a season where our physical wellness is our priority and something that we're extremely focused on, but in that same breath, our environmental wellness takes a hit. So me being able to think about it in that way and occupational wellness for my business that's what it is. Like I'm working on it to also make money, which bleeds into financial wellness. It gives me purpose and passion, which bleeds into my spiritual wellness. And all of those things. So just really, reframing it and thinking about it in that way has allowed me to give myself a lot more grace and being like, you know what? I'm not doing that bad, but I could, strengthen in this area a little bit more. So, it's not truly attainable, but I just encourage folks to give ourselves grace and sort of think about the areas where we're doing really, really, really well in, but then also think about those areas where we're struggling or in the areas that need a little bit more strengthening.
Yeah, I can dig that because some you can't where you put your attention is where you're going to succeed. Right. And sometimes you got to know how to find the time to put your attention into multiple things. I love taking breaks from the work. Right. I love taking breaks, honestly, from my family. I love taking breaks from everything and taking that time for myself so I'm able to actually be able to create and think. Because I find if I'm not creating those moments, you tend to get yourselves drowned out. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. So you mentioned Black or Everything. So I tell people I started Black or Everything honestly because one of my friends was an author and I was around so many amazing Black women around me that I just wanted to talk about them, right? So family has been a big deal, especially with how I started up this brand. But Nessa, you mentioned your husband, right? Who I know, who's around, right? How has that played a role in influencing your entrepreneurial journey, especially over the last 4 years? Hey, Nessa, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. When we met, we actually met at a distance. I met my husband online. And so he was all the way in another state. And so we were dating for like a year, going back and forth. And so imagine, and here he is like enamored with this person who runs a program. That's one thing that brought us together, a lot of what I did. But I kind of knew that he had no idea. And he said that he would look at me online and programs and go like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And he said many times he thought that he it wouldn't be able to work because like I had so much going on. And he's like I was a superwoman. And so that actually ended up being like one of the things we had to like work through. And even now that he's actually living it, he's a Southern guy. I'm a New Yorker. I move fast. Like no matter what people think when you actually bring those lives together. So being able to be fair to him, and sometimes I'll bring him to an event where there's like hundreds of people, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh my God, I think he's overwhelmed. And he won't say it. He's a man. He's like, he's an alpha man, and But then I watch my mother calls to check on him. She does like, yo, put your husband on the phone. And so it's been, it's been fine stepping out of myself, and it's been like, okay, I don't want, and most men won't want to tell you that it's a lot. And so he's found himself in the program. He's very, the guys, everyone loves him. He's a big athlete, he's full of energy. But but for having to find out when to give him a break, when not to even make him feel bad about taking the break, and how to manage those things, or how not to tell him that I'm going to the event because even though he's tired, he might still like, look, all right, I'm coming, I'll drive. And then it's almost unfair because the world puts these standards with men and women, and the reality it's individuals. And so my energy is not one that's easy to to maintain. And so I'm fair to everyone. I said, people look at me sometimes, I say like 30 words in one breath. And I said, even that, so just trying to be fair to him in light of who I am and not make him feel that, this is something you have to try to keep up with, or, that's one of the biggest challenges. And then the program, it's my mission. It's what God put me here for. That's my purpose. And so being married now, I'm fortunate that someone loves what I do, is supportive of it. We share a lot of the same things, and we share a lot of similarities when it comes to young people in sports, but understand that he has to live his life. So it's something we still work on often. It's something that even I'm saying it with a smile, it creates challenges because marriage is building. There is that constant work that I'm constantly saying to him, look, take your day, and then he's like, yeah, but you need my help. And then even carrying things. And before I'm also an athlete. I'm used to picking up boxes of stuff and or putting together the houses I can build. I'm a builder also. Now I'm like, yeah, no, yo, I'm your husband. Like, you can let me do that. I'm like, yeah, but I'm a ball player. So there's all this stuff that comes into play that I'm building, and we learn to flex our muscles. And then I'm like, yo, I'm a boss of a program. I was running it before I got married to you. Like, you gotta let me do this. So there's that. And so again, it's definitely a labor of intentional progress. And but it's rewarding. I have a partner, like a partner in the mission now. So a lot of things I did, I'm moving forward faster, because even though it's hard to build relationships, even friendships, if you can build a successful friendship and partnership in a business, even if y'all don't agree on certain things with the vision, if you can stay the course without saying, okay, because I don't agree with you, we're out. If you can stay the course, the amount you will accomplish together over time. I mean, they say it all the time, what two can do versus what one can do. And then you truly see that in a marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, Joanna, she went right where I was going to go, because you are a co-founder of your organization, right? So, your other founder, were you guys as friends, or did you guys decide to open a business together? Talk to me about how that relationship started and how that has affected the growth of your organization.
Yeah, so co-founders, shout out to my co-founders, Vicky and Timey. So we always say it was just divine time and ordered, right? So we are friends. We were friends and colleagues prior to starting our business. It really came from just really wanting to own our own intellectual property. We all came from similar nonprofit organization and also was in the same job at the time and was doing a lot of creating. The job, like most jobs, doesn't really tell you how to do the work, right? They just put you in the field. So we found that after a couple years, we were creating a job and doing a lot of innovation and doing all of that, creating a lot of relationships and partnerships. So we're like, you know what? We think we might could do this thing on our own and figured it out. So we were friends. And I think that that helped with the foundation of the organization, because at the end of the day, if we have disagreements or conflicts, like Nessa said, we're friends. So we have to figure it out. We have to work through it. And just figure out what our collective goals and impacts are in order to move forward. And we started our business on social capital. We always tell the story because our relationships were extremely important. So like we had like $150 together when we started our business. And that's you need a little bit more to start a business, but it was due to the relationships that we had within our friendship circle, that we had a photographer, we had a website designer, we had a brand developer, we had the person to connect us to our first contract. So we're always guided and grounded in that social capital aspect. And I always encourage folks to look at the people around you, because everybody is bossed up, especially Black girls, right? We are always bossed up. We have so much value. Even when people say, "Well, I don't have a business." I'm like, "Well, what do you know? What do you do? What can you contribute? Because you are a business, you know something. That can add to whatever space or whatever vision folks are trying to create." So I definitely think being able to look in your network and elevate the value that around you is extremely important. And just continuing to tap into your network. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom was an entrepreneur. My sisters are entrepreneurs. My friends are entrepreneurs. So it's really nice to have that relatable energy when it's like, girl, I ain't hear from you in a month or two. It's like, I've been working on this project, and it's no beef, it's no hard feelings. It's not a thing, because everybody understands, everybody gets it. So you have to have people around you that is equally yoked and equally aligned with their own mission, but also can elevate and respect yours as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I agree with everything, because I use the capital of all my friends around me. I'm all about, through my framework with brand, we talk about, one of the A is the asset aspect, right? That anything and everyone is always an asset. And sometimes people don't value what they know, the simplest thing. And they go sit here and say, "Well, I don't know anything." I say, "Where do you get your tea from?" "I get it from here." "So you know how to buy tea, don't you? So why don't you give me some insight on how I'm gonna sell this tea out of this boutique shop, because this is what you buy." Like, give me your life experience and see how you can support my brand by sharing the information that you know, because everybody's an asset. It does not matter what you do. All your life experiences can actually support someone, and whether you're willing and able to share some information. So it's like, yeah, that's social capital, great way to put it. Thank you, because I'm gonna use that because I don't think I've ever phrased it that way, but I'm gonna coin that. Thank you so much.
Yes, you should, and it's a real thing. We got it from somebody else, so definitely. But we do also do asset mapping too, especially with young people.
Mm,
So that's also like a literal framework and curriculum that we work through and help people identify who they have in their circle and what they can contribute. So I
I
love that.
love that. I'll be tapping you in because I'm also launching a new program called BGE Code. And no, it's not about coding. It's really a girl entrepreneur program that I'm launching where we're doing 6 months worth of coaching around life and business for girls in between the ages of 14 and 18. So yes, I'll be having you as a
I
speaker so you
love
could
it.
talk about that asset mapping. Thank you. I love that. I love that. So let's just slide back down to you. So I know that you talked a little bit around family, right? And you work a lot with parents. So how have you involved parents in the business to support the youth that you work with?
This is one of the biggest challenges we actually have is that a
Yeah.
lot of the children we work with are single parents or parents who are working multiple jobs, and it's almost a cliche of the issue. We hear this all the time, and trying to educate parents that the sacrifice of giving up some shifts or giving up some hours, it's much more profitable than the financial, the financial goals that that they're set after. So that is our biggest vision, trying to teach them how to reprogram parents who believe that they have to work hard to put food on the table, or just for some of the luxuries rather that we might say is not necessity. That look, sacrifice that because a child that has a parent showing up at an event or a function, the difference it makes. So I might leave a room where I have yesterday this weekend I had 15 youth I took to an event. I sent out a mass message, and I put this on blast graciously because I want parents to understand this. I sent out a mass memo. I got an invitation to an event I was able to sponsor because our children could not afford to be a part of it. And so I sent out, our vehicle was down, which I didn't mind because in the years past, I felt like there had been a lot of entitling where our community involved. Okay, we'll get a pickup, we'll get a ride. So our van had been down. So I sent out a message asking parents to either drive or use one of the vehicles because we have multiple vehicles to drive, get a driver because I had the pageant going on, the tea party. And so Saturday came and not one parent showed up, and 15 children pulled up next to the two-row car, four-passenger car. So I had to figure out how to get them there while I was not even physically there. So two Ubers later and a vehicle. We were in Long Island, Massapequa, and two Ubers and a vehicle back with one coach. And I had to be there. And I'm sending this to parents, letting them know. And so there were some parents, there are some working parents who carry the weight and the bulk. But and it's kind of like one of the things where you're working where when you start getting better at this falls apart. And there needs to be a culture. And so, and then, most of us, we work in other communities where you can walk in and everything just runs smoothly. It's just, and you're giving your services. And so that's the biggest challenge with giving to our communities because the excellence that we're teaching them, we know the difference. I definitely come from a different a community where my parents had me in church. I was a part of community and family, and I understood the value. And so we were working on teaching them these things and showing them. So not just living what the value of it is. And so it's constantly an uphill challenge and battle where we're working on it. But without the parents, we could put in a lot of work, and then it's almost like the children, they retract back to where they were. And so that is it's a big challenge. I always say every time there's community forums, or I go to city council meetings, or I go to youth bureau meetings, or other or the board of ed, there's always the question of where the parents are, where they're why they're not in the seats, where it is the root of our challenges in our communities, the different cultures, and how, so that's what's happening. And I can go on and on and on about it and how deep it's rooted in the issues we have. So, obviously I'm passionate about it. So that is,
Yeah,
it's an
no,
issue.
no, I dig your passion. My
Mhm.
dissertation was on parent engagement in urban community with children with diagnosed disabilities, right? And that's why I opened up the sensory gym and the parent engagement center right here in
Oh,
our
wow.
city is
Mhm.
because of that particular issue. And
Mhm.
when I did my research was 2017, so almost 10 years ago. I've been a
Wow.
doctor. And the research from there still stands the same, that people are talking about time and money. of why they can't be involved, why they can't be engaged, but not understanding how much that affects their children. It also affects their well-being because then they
Mm.
end up with this parental guilt. Oh, I
Yeah.
wasn't able to be there. I wasn't able to be involved. But I find for families is that families realize that you're actually operating a business. Then you learn to manage the time around your business because your household is an enterprise. Your children's are your business partners whole life, right? So if they are invested and you're invested in a constructive way, there's so much more that can get done. And I get you because I know you go into different neighborhoods and do a lot of different work nests, and you're going to see the different level of involvement. But then we wonder why those particular children are getting out of high school, why their graduation rates are so much higher, why there's not as much gun violence, why there's all these different things, especially being in, right here in this particular month where we're identifying gun violence within our own community. The numbers are rising, but the parent involvement is not, right, is rescinding because of the economy and a whole bunch of other things. So yes, that could be a whole nother conversation. But thank you for sharing that because I love for people to hear the facts about what's going on in their neighborhoods and parents to hear the facts about how they can step up and be more involved. I was a kid, I loved when my mom came to my track meets. I think she'd been to one and I ran track for 6 years. Right.
Man.
So like for me, I go to all my kids' stuff. It don't matter. I am there. If I have to drive 2 hours to get there, I'm going to be there because I understand the importance of that. So, Giovanni, I'm going to ask you to tap on that because you're talking about the 8 areas of wellness. So, what is your perspective on individuals with engagement and families and even in our day to day of our life? Because we're all the CEO of our own life, right? So, as much as we're talking about entrepreneurship, as a CEO of your own life, how do you feel parents are balancing within their own networks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an extremely difficult balance that parents face, right? They're not only navigating their own dimensions of wellness, but they're feeling super responsible for their children. And then if they have more than one child, multiple children. So I currently work in schools. I've been working in schools across Brooklyn districts for about 8 years now. And it is a sharp contrast. And you go into a District 15 in Park Slope, then you go to a District 32 in Bushwick. There are differences in needs and priority areas and resources and language barriers and just a bunch of different things. So I see it so much, and there's only so much that the schools can do, right? Because I work with parent coordinators who have these events and who really try really hard to
Mm-hmm.
get people to get parents into the schools and throw these large events and parents don't show up. So I think not only is it just a struggle in parenting, but also just in the culture of where we're at as a society. People have to get back to caring and to understanding why things are important. And why community is important. So a large part of my role in my full-time job, but also in my business is to bring wellness into schools, to bring mental health into schools, to make sure parent coordinators and school communities understand you can't just call the parent when the child is in trouble. You have to make
Yeah.
space for them to come in, to feel supported, to feel seen, to get resources, right? Maybe, I just really quickly a story. There was a child that was having a lot of issues in school, and they said the parent is just not interested in coming. And just took a little bit more due diligence to learn that she had a newborn and she just didn't have a stroller to get to the school. So they got her a stroller and she was pushing that baby up to the school, right? So just really figuring out what the barriers are and meeting people where they're at. I know a lot of schools have moved those forums into community centers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even with like immigration concerns, especially working in a place like Bushwick, they were, concerned that ICE was going to be at the schools. So they weren't going to be pulling up to the schools because they had a lot of fear around being deported. So there is a lot going on, and I'm just super grateful that there are programs like New Flex Youth and just other programs that are continuing to work with people, not giving up on people, because they really need the space, and you can see the difference when people have the resources and are able to be connected to mentorships. Young people, I've been a mentor for years, and those young people have a totally different lived experience than
Yeah.
young people who aren't connected to programs and who aren't connected to mentors. So that's the reality. And the more community spaces that we create, the more mentorship opportunities that we create, and representation, all of that is extremely important. And we just can't forget any of that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think, even within my relationships, within my friend circle, me coming in, being I am definitely an overachiever. I'm very clear on that, who I am as an individual. Being that individual, being in the center and having my friends around me, all it helps them do is just strive for, one of my friends got her second master's, the other one has finally got her associates, and she's moving forward to her BA. And, they have these things, they have the courage to move forward, to go for those jobs. So that mentorship within our relationships is so important, and how we lean into those, because you are the company you keep, right? So the more that we keep our youth and our families and our parents in these spaces that they can grow, the better they're all going to be. Now we're going to get back into another conversation around entrepreneurship, because I feel, especially as Black women, this question is going to be for you, Miss Superwoman over there, former athlete, lead of the team, captain, coach. Talk to me. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who sometimes find themselves losing themselves within their business?
You know, I mean, it's my drive. I can't think of myself without business. But I mean, as we discussed, we started a conversation with finding balance. It is important that you are enjoying yourself when you do business. I think that there's no limit. Like yourself, I think I'm an overachiever. I never use the term, but I think as you were saying, and I said maybe I am that too. I mean, there's nothing that I won't try to do, and I don't look for perfection in finding an idea in allowing an idea to come to fruition. I just start it. And so I'm a big person. When I think of something, I start it, but I make sure I'm enjoying it, and I live for the moment. I live in each moment. I love starting new things. I do understand that in every vision you have, you don't have to be the person that starts it and finishes it. A great person said that, most of the time when you start something as an entrepreneur, there are 5 different persons you want in your team. You have the person who, the innovator, you have the person who's the planner, you have the person who sets out the parts, you have the person that moves you to the next phase, and then you have the closer. And I ad-libbed it, but those are your pieces. So connecting, like you said, with the right circle as an entrepreneur, making sure you have the right people so that you can find that balance also, so that you don't have to stop what God has made innate in you. And that usually is the thing. You have some people who do nothing with their lives, and then you have some people who are always finding something to do and always building and always have a new idea. And that's us. That's us. And it's nice to have a circle of people who understand that, because you also have people who don't like you much because you're that, and you find yourself questioning what you did wrong, what you did different, what is, and you start to understand that they say, the road to the top is lonely, because there are many people that can't be a part of that circle, and understanding that in love and not personalizing it. So again, finding the balance. I'm recognizing the different parts of being an entrepreneur, that it comes with, there's certain things that come with the territory. Taking a step back, like you said, if you have to go take breaks throughout the time, take breaks, go away, go on trips, depending on what field you work in. If you work in field with children particularly, they say you should be going on a trip every 3 months. That is the key. So finding that, and I think that will help along the way, these little tools.
Yeah, I agree with you on that trip every 3 months. I be out of here. I'm like, I'm leaving. Deuces. I'm going. Bye. See ya later. I went to work the other way. I was meeting with my executive team, and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're coming into you." And I was like, "I'm just letting you know right now. I'm not really going to be there." I was like, "Well," I was like, "Yeah, I'll be here, but I'm planning for vacations. I will handle everything that you guys need me to handle, but I work hard throughout the school year to sit here and say that June, July, and August, I'm just going to keep the place afloat. We're going to sit here, service all of our kids with our summer camps, but you guys won't see me. I'll be in my office, or I'll be at the pool, just so you know, right?" But that's what happens when you get to the top. You get to the, like, you build out a strong enough team that you're able to pull away to take that type of time for yourself to do those types of things. So, Giovanni, you mentioned that a lot of people are entrepreneurs within your family, right? So this is something that you're really used to. But what about that one cousin who just doesn't get it? Right? Talk to us a little bit about how sometimes it's hard when you're working with, when you have family who are used to everybody's thriving as entrepreneurs, and what that looks like when it comes down. You have that one person who just doesn't get it. So I know we all have one.
Well, I mean, fortunately for me, there's just so much value in the people around me. But I do know that a lot of times people just haven't found their passion and purpose. And that's really what their issue is, right? It's never us. It's like it's a you thing. So, if we could do anything to just be representation that we found our passion and our purpose, and it feels good and it looks good, and you too can do these things, right? So be really encouraging, but also, if you can help them figure it out what it is that they love, help figure it is what it is that they're passionate about and what they can do. I teach young people a key guy, right? And that's something that anybody you could offer to anybody. It's like what is it that you love? What is it that you're good at? What does the world need and what can you get paid for? Just open up the conversation with people on those simple questions can have them think about themselves in a totally different space and different vibe, right? So people who maybe don't have a product or a brand, they have value, right? So just continue to encourage them and be positive because there are people around you who are watching and who are waiting and thinking like, wow, they did it. What's wrong with me? And that's not necessarily the truth. It's just like not now, but maybe in a month or maybe in a year or maybe it's not your time. So just, always reminding people of that. And if I could always elevate my quote about success, right? Success is liking yourself, liking what you're doing, liking how you do it. And for me, as long as I hold on to that, I can be successful in a lot of different things. So it doesn't have to look particularly one way, especially not assigned to like any money or anything. Because sometimes when the money not coming in these businesses, it's real quick to feel like, maybe you don't have value or maybe you aren't supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And, that's not the case, right? That's not true. Maybe it's just not that's not your version of success in this season. Maybe it's more of a community impact version of success in this season because the money will come, right? So I just would just encourage people to be aligned, right? Like I think that's Nesta shared it. Like make sure you have people around you who believe in your vision and elevate your vision. I just shared this the other day on my story. I was like, we've been on this internet way too long for people to not understand support, right? Sharing a flyer, something as small as sharing a flyer, right? And after so many years, you start to notice the people who've never even done that. So it comes back to be like, wow, what is that about? Like it costs you literally $0 to share and elevate my mission. So also just being reflective on that too, making sure you got people around you who really trying to elevate you and watch you grow. Cause you start to see the folks who is like, wait a minute, it's been a couple years now. You haven't popped out to an event. You haven't X, Y, and Z. I show up to all of your stuff. You know, support has to feel reciprocal. And, I can speak for myself and y'all could probably feel the same way. We don't do anything to get anything in return. But it feels nice to have reciprocal energy when you're out here just trying to see other people win. You want other people to see you win too.
Girl, you were speaking my whole language. So this is my year of results. So the big thing about me for results is like every year I declare what things are going to be. It's been transformation. It's been all this great stuff over the last 5 years. I've been really declaring this stuff. So this year is like, I'm going to get results this year, right? So what do those results look like? Now, one of my biggest things is I transitioned a lot from, and I keep telling people is like, I'm definitely not chasing the bag. I don't care to chase the bag. I am chasing what the purpose is. And when I started to really start thinking about that, it was like, okay, now I understand why it's not $100,000 in my business bank account. That's okay. But guess what? I'm impacting 100,000 people. And that feels so much better when you start getting yourself into that mindset of just focusing on the purpose. And then now I'm leaning so much more into the purpose. Now the bag is starting to follow me. Because what happens is sometimes we get so focused in the dollar amount that we're not focused on getting the work done, right? And the work is just so much more important. And I agree with you with that support needs to feel reciprocal. This brand 1000% is called We Are Here to Support Black Women-Owned Businesses. But in that same question, y'all can say share, like, save. We ain't got to watch it again another day in your life on my Instagram story. I don't care. Just save it. I don't care. You can have a BGE folder and just save all of my posts. And all that does is just increase the amount of people that I can reach. And it costs you nothing to do so. Right. So yeah, if you want things to feel reciprocal. You want the people to feel just as engaged with you because those things matter. When people show up to your event, there's a lot of people. I walk through streets all the time, and people was like, "Oh, I saw that video that you did." I'm like, "Really? You didn't put a comment?"
Yeah, because you sure didn't say anything.
Yes, really?
That's I know this happens to you all the time. I saw that great thing that you did, but you ain't come to the event, baby.
Yeah, they don't get it. And that goes, I just want to add, and that goes to what you were saying is that everyone doesn't have, and sometimes you question, is it that they don't have that ability or that skill, that networking skill? Is it something extra, something that we have in our DNA that automatically connects the, wait a minute, I have a girlfriend who does this program. Let me hit her up. Let me send her a text. Let me connect this. Or someone who just like literally looks at something that says, Black Girl Magic, and instead of hitting up Gloria and say, hey, by the way, there's an awesome person that you got to connect with that does something similar, and I let her know about you and make my job that much easier and brand and extends my brand. There are people that literally, I mean, I had someone that I sent to an event the other day, and they went to the event. I actually had them go on behalf of our organization. I connected them with the partners. I told them, make sure you set up so you could invite the program, and I let them know that I had a representative coming. They went to the entire event. They set up their organization. They never mentioned ours. They never, and they literally did it unintentionally. I guarantee you. I had a conversation. They literally were aloof about it, like, oh, I was supposed to, yeah. So we literally, and of course I brought it up. So there are people who absolutely are unaware, and it goes back to the entrepreneurial question we asked, and does everybody have, and what happened to those people who just don't seem to have it, and don't, some people just don't have it. They just don't have, and it's not malicious. And we have to recognize that it's like as a coach trying to make a 6'8" player a post player, even though his skill really is a point guard. And then you look later, like, wait a minute, like halfway through the season, if I had let him run the point, right, or if I had not expected him to dunk it, maybe we would have won. And that's a lot of what's happening. That you start to realize that, so then you start to brand your circle and pull your circle in, and have the people that actually have the tools and the things that you need that can really make you grow, so that you don't expend your energy, right, in those things. And that's what a lot of it is. I think even in balancing is finding people who can sustain you, so you don't drain yourself, run your vision out, and then before you know it, you have nothing left to give.
You
Yeah.
I
Go,
just want
Javonia,
to
go ahead,
add
jump
real
on
quick.
that.
Yeah, I want to add real quick. So I'm a host, and I'm a natural ideator, and I'm like, I do it all the time. It's just like I have to sometimes be like, okay, relax, chill. But yesterday, me and a friend was outside, and we were introduced to someone who has a bar, and they're like, I have a bar. I'm trying to bring programming. So I immediately went to, well, let's collaborate. I host events. Let's do this. Let's do that, and went in. So they walked away. My friend was like, see, that's what you got to work on. You always extending yourself before you even know who you're talking to. They say,
Right.
do you know anything about their brand? Do you know anything about their bar? Do you know anything about the clientele? Do you know anything about anything? And I was like, no, but and that was a that listen, I was like, you got me on that one because he said you have to be mindful of who you're connecting to and who you're aligning your brand with because your brand doesn't deserve to be sitting next to everybody. And I was like, okay, heard you, but that would just remind me what Nessa was sharing because it is a sauce. It certainly is a sauce, and I've been doing this work for a long time to know that a lot of people have the recipe, but they don't have the sauce.
Yeah.
And when people do quality stuff, you can see the difference. So
Yeah.
where there's a lot of people doing similar work, doing a lot of things in the community, right? I'm always so affirmed in what I do and what I bring to spaces because it doesn't look the same. And it doesn't feel the same either. So I just wanted us to feel affirmed in that space because there are a lot of people doing the work, and like you said, there's a lot of people who don't have it. They don't have the natural inclination to connect the dots and the natural inclination to support people and say, "Oh, let me connect you to Dr. Glow, so next month you could be on her." Next season you could be on her podcast to talk about your brand. See, that's naturally what I do, and I found that that's where it becomes draining, right? And you have to be mindful of that. And I do it so much. I'm actually branding myself as an ideation coach. I just put that on LinkedIn like 2 days ago because I'm like,
Nice.
Yeah, it's a natural thing, and I know it's not maybe not to be monetized right now, but I just wanted to elevate it after 10 people I spoke to this month sat down with me for 30 minutes and was able to envision and come up with things. And it's cool because I love that for people, but I just want to make sure that it's elevated.
Oh no, I can definitely dig it. I love branding myself with something new. Yes, I do that. Add it to the end. Thank you.
And who gonna check you?
Really? Because why we put these limits on ourselves? Why do we can create who we want to be in the moment with whatever season we're in. We can sit here and create the individual that we want to be during that time. And then guess what?
Yep.
If you don't feel like being the individual no more, say you don't do it no more. I heard you. I didn't know that was last year's season, baby. I'm on this now. Let me tell you about who I am today because we all grow throughout it. Yeah, own that. I love that. I love that. So we're gonna get to the end of this conversation, and I really want to talk a little bit. The last question I have for you both is about legacy. Now, I talk about this at the end all the time because in Black and Brown communities, we're also talking about what type of legacy that we going to leave behind. What is going to be the legacy that our family is going to be able to talk about us as, our community, for business and family. So try to talk to me a little bit more about your legacy and, what you are moving in this world today to create for the future.
I think about it a lot, right? I think about how I want to be remembered a lot, because that it just allows me to stay grounded and guided. So I definitely want to be remembered as my mother's child, and her spirit and her legacy and her honor, because a lot of who I am came from who she was. So I just want to be remembered to be like continuing her legacy, continuing her vibe, and continuing her honor. I also want to be remembered for creating spaces where people are seen, heard, felt, empowered, um, validated, inspired, and all of those things. So whatever that space looks like, and I always say, from the trap house to the White House, and
Mm,
everything in between. So that's what I want to be remembered as and for.
perfect. Thank you, Nesta.
I'm marinating in the you're explaining your words, girl. John Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership, his last law of leadership, he talks about the legacy. Many of our great leaders talk about it. That's how important that means. After all the work we've done, if you leave here and there's nothing left for our children, for those coming up after us, even if our name has never spoken again, but what we have done needs to leave a mark that someone picks it up, even if it's hanging in the air and somebody picks up a flyer and goes, oh, shoot, New Flex Youth mentoring programs, sports and engagement. I would like to do something like that. Oh, shoot. Black Girl Magic. Oh, that's what that idea was. They may not even know who going to the work, but something that we did leaves a remnant. And then
Mhm.
particularly if we're able to establish financial foundations and wealth, and that's another.
Hmm.
I can go in about that.
Oh
I'm a
yeah,
huge investor, really
generational
big
wealth.
on properties and investing. I have multiple Airbnbs all over the country, all over the world, and I think it's very, very important to leave. And every property that I have, I will it to foundation or to New Flex or so that whoever owns it after, it has to be utilized. And that's just one of the legacy building tools. It is very, very important that as we work and set ideas, that we stamp them, we seal them, we copyright them, we seal them in a place that our children own it after us. And that even when they don't understand what they're building, and that they take it with some responsibility so that we don't just leave it for them, but we leave it with conditions so that when they're ready to acquire it and move forward with it, they understand now they can have it. Now they can do that so they don't destroy what you built for them, but they move it on. And so understanding the process by which you leave your legacy behind. And again, no one may ever speak of Nesta Felix or of Gloria Pope or of Javonia Smith, but they will know the work we've done, and it will be long be beyond us, with through our children, through their children. So legacy is big. I'm very big on that. So you should not have asked that question last, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's legacy is a huge thing for me, and it's huge for our community, right? Even currently as we mourn the loss of Marion Archer, right, and the Revelators, and this is like, but the Revelators will live on. So she's like, she was somebody who was like huge in our community for years around this dance club and music and African drumming and everything else. We just lost her recently, and everybody's like, but the Revelators are going to move on, and her legacy is going to continue. right? So it's just like, what are the choices that we are doing with our life to inspire for others to be able to move forward? And I think that's the base of community where we need to be. So I want to thank you both for sharing time with me this lovely Monday evening and sharing information
Thank
about your
you.
business. So I would like to wrap up with you both just kind of first telling people how to find you, telling people how they can support your organizations. Nesta, tell people where they can donate them funds to support these kids out here. So, what you put out into the universe is what people will hear, is always what you will always receive. So Nesta, I'm gonna let you go first.
So New Flex, again, it's on every single social media. New Flex Youth, you look it up. We're there. The mission is really, really big, but it's really to connect our children all over the country. We have a lot of programs year round. Some are programs, some are camps, some are entrepreneurs, some are camping trips, Lake George, the works. This Saturday, we have a huge event. It's our annual Miss New Flex pageant. We've been hosting it for over 15 years almost.
Mhm.
And we're coming at it again. We got 8 heavy hitters going to be gracing that stage and fighting for the crown. And awesome young ladies. Parents will be there. We definitely could use support. We have auction items going on. Everything's happening. But more importantly, we want presence and we want very strong women in the room. We are trying to embrace these young ladies. Every young lady has a role model. And some of our awesome role models, Cynthia Turnquest, Dina Williams. Our mayor was with us yesterday. They are hitting it and getting some values in these young ladies, similar to some of what you're sharing. So we want to just really like flood them with all this love and positive and just really start mentoring them throughout. So this is a big opportunity for community to get involved. So we'd love to have you all. Anybody who can't be there, we still have some spots left for judges. Come in the room, look fly, because you gotta look fly. It's a big fly day. Runway ready, and we're inviting everybody out. But everything is available online. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Ms. Pope. This is super dope. And I do have a membership to Black Girl Magic, just FYI.
Black girl, everything. I got you.
Black girl,
Thank you,
everything.
Nesta. Oh, look,
Look, I
I
have
love
my
you.
membership, and
You
I know
too. You too.
her sister's my double Dutch partner.
Javonia, go ahead. Talk about you and your brand.
Thank you. Thank you definitely again for having me. Always appreciate being in spaces for conversation and community. So our brand is ReForum Consulting. We're a personal, professional, and community development brand guided by the 8 dimensions of wellness. We do trainings, professional development, workshops, curriculum development, event hosting, event curation, retreats, all the things, digital products, which is something that you two might be also interested in with the events that you all host, and we could connect, later on that. But all things, everything, right? So www.reforumconsulting.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Reforum Consulting.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you for
you.
that. Which is so interesting. I'm happy you pointed the finger at me as I'm growing out my brand and where I want it to go as I work with nonprofit and some of the other work that I do. I think is Nesta's also in the chat like, hey, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, thank you for sharing that because collaboration really works out, right? And that's why I love giving an opportunity for people to talk about, what they can offer and also what your needs are. So your need is I can offer, but you can be my client. Yes, I understand. That is reciprocal. We can work together that way. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And we've spoken before, but we need to have a much deeper
Yeah.
conversation about
And
how our
and
brands can grow.
absolutely. And just thinking, I believe we met at the Small Business Expo.
We sure
Um,
did.
yeah. And, a lot of times you'll meet people in community and you're like, oh, let's connect and let's follow up. And you just never really have an opportunity to follow up or connect. And
Yeah.
well intended, right? So this season, I'm really looking to cultivate the relationships that I've created already, to revisit those assets, do a little bit more mapping into where these people sit and revisit those relationships. So I'm happy that that we've been able to do that on this platform, but also us to be revisit this whole conversation again and continue
Mhm.
to figure out where there's value in all three of our brands and how we can work together, because I'm a big collaborator, huge collaborator. That's what I'm seeking, collaborators on anything wellness.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So thank you again. For those of you who are watching, we also have a major event coming up in Mount Vernon in 23 days. We will be celebrating Black Girls Everything 5-year anniversary party. We'll be honoring 6 of our day one businesses who came out to support our brand. It's going to be located in Mount Vernon at 29 Elm Avenue. Please get your tickets for that event. It's going to be fabulous, all inclusive, everything. We have secured we have our wine sponsor who's going to be there, who sponsors all of our events, our whiskey sponsor who just committed the other day. So I'm just really excited. And Mommy's Banana Pudding. Thank you. Mommy's Banana Pudding will be doing her first new experience of a banana pudding bar at this particular event. She's sponsoring that. So it's going to be fabulous. It is a Wednesday because real adults go out during the week.
And I can sponsor an engagement activity for your anniversary.
Oh, thank you. I love you. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. But for you guys on Facebook, thank you all for tuning in today. Sorry you won't be catching me again until September because I'm taking a much needed break during this summer on panels, but we'll be getting started. And then also anybody's looking to be a speaker at our BGE Talks event. It's our first event, which is also going to be at the Dole Center, Nesta, which is our event we're going to be featuring about 7 thought thinkers within our space. Is also being sponsored by I Bring the Table. She's amazing. She's going to be coming up and making the space look totally different because she is fabulous that way. Thank you, Kelly, for your sponsorship. But yeah, it's going to be
Kelly Gardner.
You know it.
She's
Look
my
at you. Exactly. Names ring bell here in our community, and we love to work together as Black women. So collaboration.
I love that. I gotta make my way uptown. Up.
Yeah, you gotta come see us up here because we hope, these 4.2 square miles, we like to stick together. But Facebook, thank you all for tuning in. Peace.